Hello everyone, my name is Jennifer Buchanan and today I will be sharing with you my end of module presentation. So today I will be discussing urban farming and its benefits for the city of Detroit. So urban farming, also known as urban agriculture, can be defined as cultivating crops, raising livestock, or producing food in urban areas and their surrounding regions. It offers benefits like local food access, community engagement, and environmental sustainability. I found this definition off of Google, but in easier terms, urban farming is basically farming in the city, which can be done on rooftops or smaller backyard areas with soil access. So, some of the research taught questions that I will be talking about is how this topic shaped the community, did it have a positive or negative impact, and what are the next steps for this community after applying the lessons that I've learned. So, first things first, I do want to tell you why I decided to do my project on urban farming. I was inspired by one of my professors named Anna H. I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce her last name, so I'm just going to give you the first letter of her last name. But she introduced herself in the beginning of the semester by explaining to her students how passionate she was about the community. And this was the first time I had ever heard the term urban farming because she does it and her family actively participates. One thing that she also does to help the community is she rides her bike everywhere. They do not own a motorized vehicle of any sort. So they ride their bikes everywhere, and if they need to go to a grocery store or any such things, they either carpool or they walk. Um, and I found this quite interesting, honestly, just because Detroit is a very cold place. So imagining like LA or New York City, LA would be a lot easier to not own a vehicle, but I feel like New York is also a lot easier if you don't own a vehicle, but in the colder winter months, is where you start to question what do they do instead of walking or riding bikes. But this is what got me fascinated in the topic, so I decided to do a project on it. So, moving on. What city is the best? So, if you were to type in your search box, what city is the best at urban farming? The first answer you get is Detroit, Michigan. And this was very surprising for me because when I'm looking at the city from a small town point of view, first thing I see is skyscrapers, cement, iron, steel, anything that involves like huge buildings and people just being stacked and living on top of each other. And also the cathedrals. I think that the overall history that Detroit has is very beautiful, honestly, and I've learned so much from living in the city, and it is really beautiful. Now, that being said, I would never suspect there to be farming in the city. So, reading many sources from class, one of the sources I found was Bees in the City. This article is from the Michigan Chronicle. But the title of this article is Detroit's Path to Sustainable Living, Animal Keeping Ordinance Empowers Urban Farming. And this is written by Ebony J.J. Curry. So one of my favorite quotes from this was one of the very first ones, which is Detroit City Council is gearing up to decide on a groundbreaking proposal that would open doors for backyard chickens, ducks, and honeybee hives across the city, led by Council President Pro Tem James Tate. The proposed animal keeping ordinance would allow Detroit residents to keep a limited number of these animals on their property. This could mean fresh eggs, unprocessed honey, and other natural resources becoming accessible right at home. And I don't know if any of you have been to the grocery store lately, but the price on eggs is crazy. So the fact that we might actually have access to our own eggs at home is mind blowing. And honestly, fingers crossed that it actually happens. But then again, this article was written at the end of 2024. So hopefully by now we have at least put our foot in the right direction to this. But for Detroiters living in this area without easy access to fresh food, the ordinance represents a potential lifeline. Being able to gather fresh eggs or unprocessed honey directly from one's backyard could mean healthier options without going to the grocery store. But community members see this ordinance as a means to self sufficiency, providing a resource that could help uplift households, especially in neighborhoods that have lacked access to fresh produce. This article was honestly so inspirational and just so educational. I loved reading about it. Now, I kind of did these questions out of order, so forgive me for that, but I kind of did them on a scale of like priorities. And so, first priority was the positive impact. Um, and this, for many Detroiters, this ordinance is more than it means more than a step towards urban farming. It offers the chance to reconnect with sustainable practices right where they live. Chicken and bees might be small, but their impact could be large, contributing to fresh food, natural wax, and even feathers for crafting. Families could use these resources to gain more control over what they eat and how they live. So, another article that I read was the Detroit's People's Food Co-op, a new um black-owned community supermarket. And honestly, I have never heard of this until reading about it in class. But what it is basically a 15,000 square foot supermarket that is situated on a ground floor in a development complex for the Detroit Food Commons. The member supported food store offers fresh produce, bulk food, and prepared deli section. The shelf stable pantry items and other grocery essentials. The second floor is dedicated to office space and a banquet hall, as well as four shared commercial kitchens. These kitchens are managed by Chef Gabriel Vincent, and they are available to rent for individuals with food-based businesses in need of commercial commissary kitchens, a resource that has long been lacking in availability in the city. And this quote I just had to add in my project because I really thought it was just like a good thing to say. But the idea is not to try and force what we think is best for our people. Our job is to come to the community and meet people where they are. So basically, they're just adding more opportunities and more resources for those who might not have it, which is just honestly beautiful. And I low key wish I had heard of this earlier. So some of the next steps that are happening for Detroit would be the farming, the fisheye farms. And a quote from them is doing your homework is the most important thing you can do when establishing a vacant lot project. The co-founder, Andy Che, and farm manager of Fisheye Farms, he learned about urban agriculture when the Haynes Farms, which I'm pretty sure is the ketchup, like Haynes, started doing things in Detroit. At first, he thought it was crazy, but after learning more, he fell in love, realizing the impact and potential that farming has. Having obtained his degree from DePaul University with a double major in environmental studies and political science, he decided to use his education to focus on urban agriculture by gaining firsthand experience and the skills on a farm in Chicago. This allowed him the opportunity to start developing his own farm plans while also empowering others in the field of farming. And I think this is just a brilliant idea for Detroit. I think many like what I've seen from an outsider is Detroit has many like burned down houses, abandoned houses, empty lots. There's just a lot of land. And honestly, for a big city to have a lot of land is very new, like just the differences between LA and Detroit. Like LA doesn't really have a lot of like actual soil for agriculture. I feel like it's much more like sand and like just a different kind of soil for plants. So, and it also doesn't rain a lot in California. So, farming in LA would be much harder than it would be in Detroit. And Detroit in Michigan has the weather on its side, other than the freezing cold, and also the availability in space. So, anyway, these are some of my works cited. Um, again, the all of these are cited and sorted from our class and the urban farming's module. So if any of you guys are more interested or would like to deepen your education on urban farming, feel free to go ahead and explore those many articles that are provided for us. Thank you, and that is all. I hope you guys enjoy your day.